Andrew, it is so nice to have you here on the show.
Sarah, thanks so much for having me. I'm honored.
Yeah, we are so glad that you're here. Your story of becoming a college athlete and even playing the NFL is something that I think all of the parents that I work with and student athletes want to hear and need to hear because it wasn't an easy one.
Yeah, it was wild. I look back on it and I laugh. I'm glad it panned out the way it did. But so I was dead set. The only goal that I had was to play Division 1 sports, Division 1 football. And my dad played Division 1 at Purdue, and then me and my brothers were all competitive in football, and I was just that's what I wanted to make happen. And as parents or students listening know who might be pursuing the same path, there's a signing day that happens when you're in college that you're declaring where you're going to go, and it's usually in football, it's in February. I know it's different for every sport, but anyway, signing day came and went, and I didn't have any offers, zero, which I was really bummed out about because I had spent the previous 2-3 years going to every college camp that I could. I emailed every special teams coach in the Division 1 realm, which is like 100 and however many.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I was bummed out because I had devoted my life to date to football, and I felt like I had failed. And well, the funny thing is, I say I didn't have any offers, but actually Princeton wanted me to come play football there, and I didn't want to go because I didn't really view it as D1, right? So it was like this
Yeah.
weird pride thing for me. So they actually sent me an acceptance letter, like, hey, like, congratulations on getting into Princeton. But they also sent me, when I told them I wasn't going to go to Princeton, a rejection letter
Whoa.
saying like, yeah, I think they were doing it for the stats of, like, hey, we only let in one of every 100 applicants or whatever it is. Anyway, so I get a call in April of my senior year. So this is even past when normal students would have decided where to go to school, who weren't playing sports. And it was the head coach of Vanderbilt. And he said that he had a scholarship spot open up for me. And I was like, dang, whoa, what? Like, here I am. I was about to go play Division 3 with my brother. And I was, I hadn't committed to that, but that was kind of the plan. I said, how did the scholarship spot open up? I know you guys had filled all your positions. And he said, well, we had a running back who was out of Atlanta, Georgia. His name was Shawn Bennett. He was like the best recruit Vanderbilt had ever signed. And he had a handicapped little brother, and his mom's boyfriend broke in the house like middle of the night and started shooting around.
Mm.
And Shawn, to protect his little brother, dove in front of a bullet and died. And so it was like this wild, dichotomy of emotions that I was feeling, where on the one hand it was like, oh my gosh, this is my dream that I've been like stressed about, I've been just hanging on to this dream for so long. I'm so excited that here it is, it's going to happen. But on the other hand, it happened under such tragic circumstances, and like, this Rajon died, and that's how I'm walking in this situation. So I came in to the locker room as a freshman, didn't know anybody because I'd never been on any recruiting trips. And that began my wild ride of college athletics. So,
Yeah. Wow. And I think, how did you go about just handling that? Like that seemed like a lot of pressure because you had to make that decision to accept that scholarship.
yeah. Well, I had talked with the coach about it. Bobby Johnson was the head coach at Vanderbilt at the time. And I was definitely like, you know, curious about what that would look like. Like, is this the right decision for me to commit? Like, I know there's a lot of things teams could do, like reserve a college, like a scholarship in his honor, things like this. And anyway, the coach was like, no, we actually, think that you're the right guy to fill the shoes. And I mean, I was honestly honored. If you Google Rajon Bennett
Mhm.
essay, like this guy was like just an outstanding leader. And I guess they thought that to some degree I could fill those shoes, which I hope that I did him justice in some sense, though I don't think I'm half the man that Rajon was. But
Mhm.
yeah, it was wild.
Yeah. And I think that we all kind of go through that major decision making process of what's going to
Hmm.
be that step. And, you were at that pivotal point of I'm just going to play D3. Like you had
Yeah.
made that decision and then here you are handed this opportunity.
Yeah.
And like you had, and like that's where you went, okay, now I got to step it up. Now I got to kind of make this transition.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. It's so funny. I think my decision making was so clouded by the fact that I was obsessed with this goal of just like Division 1. Like it didn't matter. I was a decent student in high school, um, and I would have gone to like whatever the worst academic school out there if it was just me playing D1 football. Like I probably should have gone to Princeton, right? Academically, that would have been the better choice. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Such is high school, you know.
Right. And I think that's where, parents a lot of times struggle with helping their kids make those decisions.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like where you were, but in the end, like it was actually the best decision for you. It's how like all the cards fell. It's just in the right place. But when you got there, it still wasn't easy.
Right. And yeah, I think if I was going to talk to someone who had a kid going through this process, just understanding that you can make the best of a lot of different situations. Like, it's almost like choosing who you're going to marry. It's like there's probably not the right choice, but there's, probably maybe 15 people that you can make the best of the situation with. It's just like, how do you approach it? What's your attitude towards it? Like, are you going to put your best foot forward and engage and invest in your teammates and the program? Like, don't stress out about making the right choice. And it's more about how you approach whatever situation you're given. But yeah, when I when I got to Vandy, so oh my gosh, we reported early as freshmen, and like 7 days after I showed up, Sarah, the head coach retires. We're talking like a couple weeks before we start August camp, which this never happens at this level. Like the head coach usually retires in December or January. The head coach says, "Peace, I'm out." And so then it shifted. Like already I was thrown into this unknown situation, and that's stressful. Like being a freshman in college is overwhelming. And then it's like there's all this change happening where the people I did know had left. And I was thrown in a situation where I was traveling with the football team. I was like the backup long snapper. And so they needed me to tag along just in case anything happened. I tore my hamstring
Oh my gosh.
second week of practice. And so then I just, I already felt lesser than because I was the last signee. And then I tear my hamstring. And then I felt lesser than because of my position. I was a long snapper. And then I felt lesser than because, I tore my, like, there's so many things that had gone wrong. And I didn't get along with the replacement coach. We laugh about it now. I know him well now. His name is Robbie Caldwell. He's at Clemson.
Yeah.
Anyway, he would come up to me in practice and talk about how I was failing all these classes, which I was. I was in civil engineering trying to get that degree, and I was in chemistry, calculus, and physics were 3 of my 4 classes.
In your first
And
semester.
yes, and I legitimately failed. I got an F on calculus and chemistry. And so I wasn't like I wasn't contributing on the football field, and I wasn't excelling in the academic realm, and I was ready to leave like, oh my gosh, oh sweet, I get to play D1. And then it was a nightmare my first semester. So I'm glad I made it through that, but it was wild.
So how did you make it through that? Because it sounds like everything was coming at you from all different directions. And here you were, an 18-year-old kid far away from home, trying
Yeah.
to like navigate all this stuff.
Yeah. Well, the first thing is I sought out help, right? Like there really are for college athletes a lot of resources. I think there's so much going on in that phase of life though that it's hard to appreciate what resources you do have, and then once you actually realize what you have to use those resources. And so I think that was the number one thing. Was I was like, okay, I got to sit down with my counselor. I got to talk with like a mentor who have been like a student who has been through this, and like, what can I recuperate my grades after failing 2 classes? Just like get advice, meet with people. And then I think like having a solid community of people around you as well. In any realm of life,
Yeah.
there's going to be people who are positive influences and negative influences. And I think I shifted from like trying to fit in to the football realm to actually just like, hey, this is a group of people that does their homework, that works hard in the weight room, that gets all these things done. I'm going to spend time with them as opposed to trying to like fit in to whatever crowd that I'm trying to do, which, it's a long-term play, because if you are ultimately accomplishing all the things and successful in the weight room, et cetera, like you're going to be the cool guy, but there's no shortcuts to doing that anyway. And then I think the third thing that I did was like just stuck to it and persevered to whatever degree I could. Was, I really wanted to change majors. I really wanted to transfer schools, but anyway, I decided, like, okay, let me just give this one more semester and see how it goes. And you're just able to kind of get your footing a little more, understand how the new world works
Yeah.
in college, and what classes look like. So I think those are kind of the things that helped me make it through that phase.
Yeah. So knowing that like those are the things, like what would you have done differently? Like as a freshman, if like if you would give some advice
Yeah.
right now to, because I mean, students are heading into school, like some of them are starting their freshman year, some of them are like getting ready for their senior year. Like, what would you have done differently, or like give the advice for these kids that are going through this?
Yeah. Oh man. Well, if I was going to tell myself before I started classes, like my first class that I took that summer, I think just like take a deep breath and realize that there's a ton of change going on. Like everything looks different. You're in a new situation. You have new people around you. There's a new team. Like there's the face of everything looks way different, but what you're actually doing isn't that much different. So
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
take confidence in that. I think I also would have recommended me, spare that first 3 months of failure and jump to seeking help earlier,
Yeah.
which is why I love what you're doing with Sideline Confessions, Sarah, because I think it's such a unique thing to be a college athlete, and there's so many demands. There's so many moving parts, and for someone who has a removed perspective like you do, and knows the system well, knows how things work
Mhm.
well. I mean, how much wisdom can you provide? It's amazing, and it gets me pumped up for people who do work with you. So
Yeah.
I think that would be the second thing, and then yeah, just reiterating the value of perseverance, which I don't know your thoughts on the transfer portal, but it kind of bums me out, with the freedom to move schools kind of whenever you choose. I feel like kind of undermines a lot of the benefits of college sports, where like
Mhm.
if I would have jumped ship that first semester, I would have missed out on like a lot of character building, a lot of lessons learned. So I think just perseverance, yeah, just reiterating perseverance.
Yeah, I totally agree because, it takes a lot to persevere through all of the things that are happening. And, I mean, there was a coaching change, like it was a last minute
Yeah,
decision. Like you could have easily just said, look, I'm done. But in
yeah,
the end, it was actually the best thing for you to
yeah,
stick around. Like
yeah, no doubt.
life kept getting a little better and better as you were at
Yeah,
Vanderbilt.
100%.
And
Yeah,
then, like, you leave Vanderbilt, and now the NFL is kind of on the horizon for you.
yeah, yeah. So that's a good. Every semester I spent at Vanderbilt, I enjoyed more and more. And by the time I left there, I was like just so thankful that things panned out the way they did. And so I'm super fortunate in that sense. And fast forward to my last semester there, I had the ability to graduate early, which again is another perk of being a at least college football player. A lot of times they'll bring you in for summer and you can get ahead on classes. So I graduated undergrad in 3 years after failing all these classes. Got my master's degree and at the business school. I got my MBA, all under scholarship, which is wild. Was a two-time captain, played in the most games of anybody who had ever played at Vanderbilt, and that was because we went to all these bowl games, and I think we have the winningest record. Like
Yeah.
while I was there, I'm saying this not because I did not contribute to the win, Sarah. I was a long snapper, so I want to make that clear.
A long
Anyway,
snapper is very important
oh,
to
okay.
all the
Thank you. I
games.
appreciate.
As I used to work with our special teams at the
Yeah,
University of South Alabama, I know they are very important.
yes. Go Jags. Is that
That's
right?
right. That's right. Yeah.
Um, and I was yeah, I was I ended up being I was like the number one rated recruit out of college at my position, which again, long snapper, like that doesn't really mean that much, but I got picked up by the Kansas City Chiefs in free agency. And it was almost like my college recruiting process replicated itself in my pro career because I had to like again, here I am faced with a great opportunity with the Chiefs, just like I was at Vandy, and I went through a ton of turmoil there, and ultimately had to like just grind it out until
Mhm.
something good happened. So yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. Now, but you didn't end up playing for the Chiefs for very long, right?
No, yeah, no. I signed a 4-year contract. I was like, sweet, I'm gonna be playing for the Kansas City Chiefs for the next 15 years. I would have won a Super Bowl, Sarah. Gosh dang
Right.
it.
Right.
But I played for him for 3 months and blew my entire signing bonus on my wife's engagement ring because I didn't know how money worked really. Anyway, that's a side story. I ultimately, by the time it's all said and done, spent 5 years bouncing in and out of the league. I think I signed 8 contracts with 9 different professional teams. I made a debut in the AAF. I don't know if you remember that brief
No.
uh, sunset that was an ulterior professional league to the NFL.
Yeah.
It was like the Alliance of American Football, and I was with
Yeah.
the
I didn't know that you, like, made a, like, little stint in there, though.
yeah, I did. I did.
Wow.
It was wild. There's tons of stories from that. But anyway, I ended up playing. I ended up finally playing in my first regular season game with the Washington football team in December 2018. And again, I look back on that, just getting signed, getting cut, getting signed, getting cut over and over and over again. And I wouldn't change a single thing because there's again so many lessons to be learned by that, and that's how it
Mhm.
ultimately that led to what we're doing now, which
Yeah.
is more fun than how I
Right.
view football. So yeah,
Yeah, because now, like, that led you guys, you and Shawn, to really start being able to share your life through,
yeah,
social media and the platforms that are out there.
yeah. So for those listening, that I will brag on my wife. She's
Yes,
a
please.
way better athlete than I am. Olympic gold medalist Shawn Johnson, and she's an absolute beast. She's awesome, and I don't know why she married me, to be honest. But here I was. I got released by the Chiefs, and I spent like 3 months just with zero confidence of an ability to do anything else besides play football. And so we started a YouTube channel because Shawn was getting to do a bunch of cool things like red carpets and whatever. And I had briefly filmed one of the tryouts that I had with the Saints after I got cut. And so I was like, oh, well, maybe I can record this content and be an interesting thing to document. And sure enough, fast forward 5 years, and we documented our whole wedding planning process, our wedding, our you know freaking everything. Me
Yeah.
getting signed and cut by a bunch of teams and all these events that we've been through, and now we're doing the family stuff and loving it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
which is so amazing. And I think, a lot of times people don't understand the power of social media. And right now, our student athletes are actually being pushed into that. This whole
mm,
last year, there weren't really any on campus visits. Like it was a dead period for most of the
yeah,
year. And like, students are trying to figure out how do they use social media to really show coaches, like, here's what I got. I'm ready to like move and be a part of your team. And that's something that you were doing as you were filming your tryout video and really thinking, what can I do? And now you guys are doing this full time.
yeah, yeah. I think social media can be such a powerful tool. I mean, I know it has a bad rap because a lot of people waste time on it. A lot of people destroy their reputations on it. But if you use it correctly, and I think I would debate the way it should be used, then you can really like amplify your voice, amplify your reach, and then build a positive association with your name and your brand, whatever that is. So I think it's tough to do like it's tough to kind of have the self-discipline as a high school athlete to not whatever like post random stuff that might not
Mhm.
help when college coaches come across it. But I think if you are wise in it, and again, maybe get some consulting on it, then you can really make a positive impact on what your college experience looks like and how you interact with college coaches.
Yeah, I know. And I think that's like the beauty of it now is that it is a doorway for our students to really connect with coaches and really kind of see like, are they the right fit when they're going through
Yeah.
this? Because there's so much that has to go through the process of, visiting campuses, seeing, having the conversations with coaches. And I always say it
Hmm.
goes beyond just the coach. Like
Yeah.
there are so many factors that you're going to experience. And you really alluded to that about having an academic counselor on campus, having the resources.
Yeah.
And that is something that like you need to know about and interact with.
Yeah. I if I could give a quick analogy, the
Yeah,
the way
please.
that I was able to kind of do better in college classes was legitimately as simple as reading the syllabus that was given in the course. And
Yes.
it helped because it kind of helped create this like trajectory or framework for what was going to happen, and like it gives you a bigger picture for things. And I think doing a similar thing of like getting some type of syllabus or reference point for how many resources are available to you,
Mhm.
and actually understanding how you can use that is a really helpful thing to do. And having someone like yourself, Sarah, to help along in that process can be immensely valuable.
Yeah. And I will say, thank you so much for talking about reading the syllabus because that is the
Yeah.
number one thing that I talk with students on about. Like, you need to sit down the first week of class and
Dude.
read through the entire syllabus because you need to have an idea of what is going to take
Yeah.
place over the next 16 weeks.
Otherwise, you're just like walking in the dark. Like literally, it's like a 2-page document that can make the world of difference.
Yes, that's so true.
Yeah.
So, Andrew, as you think about like all the times that you have been standing on the sidelines. Now, because the podcast is called Confessions on the Sidelines, I want to know, what is your favorite memory from standing on the sidelines?
Oh man. Well, I don't know if we have any UT fans out there, but there's a memory I have of being at Neyland Stadium, and the fans being upset that the Vanderbilt Commodores were beating them, and they were throwing full water bottles at the players. But that's not the best memory by any means. I think, man, there was a couple times I'm Vanderbilt went down to play the Florida Gators, and we beat them at their home stadium for the first time in like 30 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember the excitement of when we weren't winning at this time or point in the game, but when we started to get a little momentum, and it was me and like 3 other guys just like standing on the bench, just screaming at the top of our lungs, like turning each other and laughing, just because it was like such an incredible experience to, you're standing in front of 70,000 people or however big that stadium is, and I felt like that was the time that I most was able to appreciate, like almost
Mm.
from a third party's perspective, that this is how I dreamed Division 1
Mm.
sports would go. Like, just you're there with your friends, you're having a good time, you're in a competitive, arena at the highest level, and yeah, that was a really special moment.
Oh man, I can just imagine it all happening down in the swamp. Here you
Yeah,
guys are. Like I can see that with you.
yeah,
That's so awesome.
yeah.
So, where can everybody find you if they want to head and hang out with you guys on social media?
Well, I direct them again. My wife is way cooler, so she's Shawn Johnson on any platform. My handle is Andrew D East everywhere, and then we're the East Fam on YouTube. We also have a podcast called Couple Things that you can
Yeah.
check out.
Yeah, and
But
we'll be sure to include all of those links in the show notes so everybody can go and check out what you guys have going on.
yeah, Sarah, I gotta say, I'm super impressed with what you built here. I think there's a ton of value that you're providing, and I'm thankful that someone like you provides a service. So, also, just honored that you had me, on the show. Along, I know you're getting Bob Goff, Mark Richt, all these heavy hitters. So I appreciate you thinking of
Yeah.
me for this.
Well, we appreciate you being here and sharing so many great nuggets with our guest.